A good friend just sent this to me today. It's a little bit of artwork. Clearly, it's somebody has updated somebody else's artwork, but let's just read it. Let history play out properly this time. Heart emoji. Hashtag Karabakh is Azerbaijan. What we have here is a split screen. On the left side is the former Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire, also known as the architect of the Armenian genocide, Talat Pasha. I would refer to him as a genocidal maniac and Hitler's number one inspiration. On the right half is current leader of the nation of Turkey. And it's my understanding there's a bunch of Turks that think he's a madman. So let me make this perfectly clear. I am not picking sides between Armenians and Turks or Armenians and Azeris. Azeris are also ethnically Turkish. I am picking sides between good and evil. And I've been to Istanbul, Turkey, and I've been to Yerevan, Armenia, and I've met these people. And they're all amazing and incredible. What we're talking about is good versus evil and truth versus falsehood. So there's a war that started about 2 weeks ago. Let's just read. This is from September 27th, Al Jazeera News. Fighting erupts between Armenia and Azerbaijan over disputed region. Violence flares up in Nagorno-Karabakh, with militaries from both sides accusing each other of the major escalation. Okay, I won't read this, but I'll link any articles that I reference in this podcast. I will include the links. So I just looked up to see the very first news about this latest conflict. There's also another video that I'll link right here. If you want an in-depth history of this conflict, I've spoken with one of the foremost authorities, Professor Ronald Sunni from University of Michigan. And he goes into depth. So if you want to know the history, it's about a 15-minute segment of a longer interview. But if you also want to keep up to date on what's going on right now, will you join me on my campaign to get the United States government to recognize Statehood for Artsakh? All you have to do is share this video or like it, subscribe to it, but most importantly, share it and encourage your friends and acquaintances to join me in this campaign, because that's the only thing that is going to stop this seemingly never-ending war. If you want to know what's going on right now, or you want to keep up to date with it, you can go to Wikipedia. There's a link to 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and you see right here, it's day by day. So what happened on September 27th, and then each day there's an update. It's not current. It only goes up to October 9th, and today's the 13th. There was a ceasefire declared on the 10th, which was promptly ignored. But let me summarize this conflict. There's an aggressor and there's a defender, and that's usually the case in any conflict, that there's a side that starts it. There's some impetus, some reason that one side wants to start killing other people, and then those people have to defend themselves. And so I've been dealing with historians like on both sides to learn this. I mean, about this area, about this ongoing conflict, and then this thing raises its ugly head again about 2 weeks ago, and it's not in dispute that there's good guys and bad guys, but the historians I deal with are very circumspect, as historians are are wont to do. I mean, that's what they should do. They need to look at the facts, look at both sides, and suss out what's really going on. And so when you read this, if you go to Wikipedia to update yourself, you're going to see, the Armenians claim one thing and the Azeris denied it, or the Azeris claim one thing and the Armenians denied it. So both can't be true. So there are ways to find the truth, but on Wikipedia, because it's tries to be, well, it's a self-edited, it's a crowd-edited source, you're going to have a lot of pushback. And so you're going to just see some of the reporting, which is a good thing. You're going to see what's being reported, but not necessarily what's true. So it's going to say so-and-so, one side said that didn't really happen, and the other side said it did happen. What's happening here is a region that is predominantly Armenian, that's been that way forever. I'm picking sides in this because it's just clear. The historians are going to be, well, this is what's going on, but you got to pick sides. And if you have innocent people that have been living in a region forever, and then someone just wants to get rid of them, well, let's show you. This is today. Trench warfare, and this is from The Guardian. There's a woman inside of a church that was bombed. Trench warfare, drones, and cowering civilians on the ground in Nagorno-Karabakh. I won't read this whole article, but most of the damage is happening in the Armenian region. Here's a woman crying inside a church that was bombed. And here's a picture of that church. And this is actually a pretty good in-depth article about the Armenian side of the conflict if you're interested. So again, I will link it. What kind of started this off for me was a friend of mine texted me, a very close friend of mine texted me, and let me just read that text. I won't include his name, but Michael, Azerbaijan, and this is from October 8th, so a few days ago. Azerbaijan just used Turkish F-16s to bomb the church in Shushi twice! Meanwhile, Artsakh rebuilt a damaged mosque in the same city in 2019. Highlights the difference in humanitarianism and cultural value. So what he's saying is the military of Azerbaijan completely disregarded the history and the sacred sites of the Armenians, whereas last year the Armenians in that region recognized, oh, here's an old mosque that's in disrepair. We believe in culture and preserving history and sacred spaces, and they rebuilt it. And so this highlights the difference. He continues, honestly, this is something Christians need to understand, that the world's first Christians have had a jihad waged against them. Any thoughts on how to raise awareness? Yeah, that's the key. How do people learn about this thing? It's a distant war. So I have begun this podcast, and if you want to share it, that's how we can raise awareness. I will close with this and explain. This is the frightening thing. Remember, I talked about good versus evil. This original picture that was drawn here with the split screen between Erdogan and Talat. Originally, it's to highlight the Armenian genocide of 1915. It's low resolution, you can't really see it, but Armenian genocide of 1915, and then Armenian genocide, and I don't know what the date would be there, but maybe it was 2020 or 2019. I don't know when this piece of art was made. And then down here it said, don't let history repeat itself, which is going to be a theme on this podcast. And then down at the bottom, it says hashtag stop Azerbaijan, hashtag stop Turkey, because they're working together. We'll get into that in the next episode. So somebody took this piece of art and did their own version of it, and I don't know what the date would be there, but maybe it was 2020 or 2019. I don't know when this piece of art was made. And then down at the bottom, it says hashtag stop Azerbaijan, hashtag stop Turkey, because they're working together. We'll get into that in the next episode. So somebody took this piece of art and said the fake Armenian genocide, in other words, denying that it happened in 2019, but then they say the real Armenian genocide. So this is quite fascinating that they may deny that Armenians were massacred, but they have no qualms about wanting Armenians to be massacred. That is telling. And then they say, let history play out properly this time. So they're even contradicting themselves this time. Let it play out properly this time. They say this was a fake genocide, but if they want to play out this time, they're referencing an earlier event. So it must have really happened. Or maybe they're saying it was a fake genocide because not all Armenians were massacred. Maybe that's why they call it fake. It wasn't complete, so it wasn't a genocide. Let's finish them off. I mean, that seems to be what's being purported here. Now that is evil. To annihilate an ethno-religious minority, it's just plain evil. I can't think of anything more evil. And so down here on the hashtag Stop Azerbaijan and hashtag Stop Turkey, it's hashtag Go Azerbaijan, hashtag Go Turkey. So this is propaganda aimed at inciting or continuing genocide. As I said, this is the beginning. I'm going to try and post as often as possible and educate you. I'm going to make the case for why I believe statehood for Artsakh is the only solution, and not the United States of America, the President of the United States, currently Donald Trump, whether he wins or loses the election, whoever becomes the President of the United States, if it doesn't happen before the election or before the inauguration of the next president, I'm petitioning the U.S. government to recognize statehood for Artsakh. I don't mean boots on the ground. I don't mean selling F-16s. I don't even mean a NATO resolution. I'm saying unilaterally, the United States, the President of the United States needs to draft an executive order and sign it, recognizing, just saying, Artsakh is a nation. We recognize it. That's the only solution. I mean, we're a Christian nation. Okay, so that can be, I mean, if you're going to normalize relations between Israel and the Arab nations surrounding it, what about this tiny Christian nation that's in the middle of this mess as well? That's all I have to say. So share this and subscribe. And if you want, I don't know how often I'll be posting. Hopefully I can do it once a day. But if you don't want to miss this campaign and the next clip in the campaign, subscribe and click the notification bell and also share it. Pass it on.